So good morning, my name is Ajahn Katapunyo and welcome to the Sunday's Dharma talk. Today is Sunday, February 11th, 2018. I will be continuing from my previous talk that I gave 2 weeks ago on avoiding these two extremes. So I've chosen this Pali verse in particular, so people can reflect that it is possible for all of us to establish wholesome qualities in our hearts, even if we have gone totally the wrong way. And if we have understanding of the nature of Dharma and the nature of unwholesome and the wholesome, then we can see for ourselves the benefit in developing wholesome qualities and encouraging it in ourselves and seeing the fruits of it. So previously I mentioned Kame Sukama Sukhalika no Yogo and Atta Kilamata no Yogo, these two extremes that were being practiced in the previous times, in the historical time of the Lord Buddha. And the Lord Buddha, prior to his awakening to being the Lord Buddha, being a mere bodhisattva or an ordinary worldling, going about their life seeking happiness through the 5 chords of sensual pleasures and finding security in life in these happinesses. And so he saw there was no security to be found in them and became very dispassionate about it, and so much that he left the palace in search of enlightenment, true happiness and peace. And doing so, he went to the other extreme of Atta Kilamata no Yogo, which is being averse to any form of sensuality. So before, as a prince, he experienced only craving, the desire for sensuality, and being intoxicated and enjoying that and seeing that as a refuge. But in a sense, he saw dispassion and pain, and later saw there's no way one can fulfill one's pleasures. The more we desire, the more we want, and it on and on like that. And it actually creates much stress and tension in our lives and confusion. So now we have 2 cars and now we're thinking of getting a 3rd car and so on. And then our property increases and so many things to look after that we become more heedless and neglectful, and we don't know the value of what is important because we're so caught up in materiality. So Lord Buddha went to the other extreme of denying everything. He lived in a forest and practiced 5 extreme activities which I talked about in deep in the previous talk. And to the point he almost died. And if he did die, we would not have the Dhamma here today. Could you imagine that? This world, there are no Buddhist teachings. I feel that would be a very sad occasion for humankind, because they are open to all people to understand and explore Dharma and to deepen it so they can understand the qualities leading to awakening and enlightenment. Thus, when we follow these 2 paths of extremes, the Majjhima Patipada is not developed or cultivated to bring true awakening and peace. So it's impossible to actually even see it. It doesn't exist. And if someone tells you it exists, you wouldn't be interested because you're in the pursuit of these 2 extremes. Now, for most of us, there's very few who are practicing Atta Kilamata no Yogo because that is painful and harmful, and so it's very few who will take that path. But now, in this day and age in India, there are still ascetics practicing this style of practice, still, and torturing and punishing themselves. There is, you can even go onto YouTube and see ascetics who've kept their hand up since they were a child. And sometimes they've interviewed them. Some monk friends of mine have interviewed some of these ascetics. when he went to these holy sites of India, and they disclosed that it's so much pain for them. They can't actually bring their hand down. So they've got their hand raised and they can't bring it down. And now they have all these pains and problems, thinking that this body is to be blamed, and this body, if I punish it enough, I will purify it and thus purify my mind. But this body is just a body. It knows anything. It knows nothing. So therefore, as the great Kuba Ajahns of Thailand said, when we feel pain, it's the body doesn't complain, it's the mind that complains. The body and the mind are separate. So we need to go under anesthetic so we don't feel pain. I even tried this myself, going to hospital. The nurse did not give me anesthetic because I stayed with a very famous monk who had power over his mind. And so I tried to practice according like this. And so I did experience pain, but I was able to see it's the mind that experiences, it's not the body. And I could see there is a separation, there is the mind and the body. If we look deeply, we can all do this to a certain extent. We can step back and experience it. What is this painful experience we're feeling? Not associated as being my body feeling pain, because the body feels no pain at all. So therefore, the Lord Buddha knew what to work and what to liberate, and that was the mind. Thus, when we are ignorant following these two extremes, our mind is dominated by the power of avijja, ignorance, and by under this power, craving, aversion take hold of us and control every aspect of our lives. So the path of sensuality is a path of indulgence, and there is no limit to how far we will pursue it when we are intoxicated by it. And we've all experienced that when we are feeling incredibly indulgent, how difficult it is to say no. And the path of self-mortification, as I said before, is the path of aversion to sensuality. And we can see that with lay folk who are strict Buddhist practitioners. They even sleep on the floor and do austerities at home so then they can discipline themselves. And sometimes they get very cold in the winter, and I've had many fellow Dhamma practitioners getting quite ill because in the winter months you should have a raised bed. You should not sleep on the floor because most Victorian homes are very cold and the cold air harms the body. And then you might have an internal cold problem and might even develop some strong illness where you can't recover. So we need to learn how to discipline ourselves in a moderation way and with wisdom and circumspect, not to be averse to sensuality, but to acknowledge it and to keep it in moderation. And this is the path of Majjhima Patipada, the path of moderation. We are knowing from moment to moment the present awareness of things as they are. Thus, likewise, these two extremes of craving and aversion are under the power of avijja. And so we are under its control and not free, in a state of conflict with ourselves, being pulled one way by craving and then being pushing things away with aversion. We call this wrong view. This is a view that prevents us from seeing the middle way, Majjhima Patā. And these two extremes, emotional qualities of craving, aversion, they come from these two extreme practices at the time of the Buddha. So it shows the human mind, consciousness, has these two extremes it can go to, and there's no other extremes than that. And why are we ignorant? It's because we don't understand the nature of wholesome and unwholesome, that which is meritorious and demerit. Thus, we must study this. We must study the wholesome and the unwholesome to unravel the meaning, to put the jigsaw pieces of the puzzle together, so we have a picture of right view. So we need each piece. So we first start with the two pieces, what is wholesome or what is unwholesome, until we can straighten our view to right view and truly awaken to promoting meritorious deeds by action, body and speech. And action being that of the mind, which instigates speech and physical acts. So we ask ourselves, Katame akusala Dhamma. What are these Teo kusala mula? And they are, the Lord Buddha said, inherent in every being. They are lopa, moha and dosa. Lopa being the root of greed, dosa being the root of anger or hatred, and moha being the root of delusion. These seeds of unwholesome thinking and reactions have been taking root in us since we've been born in this world. So when we were first born in this world and taking our first breath, no longer tied to the umbilical cord, our skin extremely sensitive to the external air, environment and temperature, we are screaming for our lives. And why is that? Because of extreme aversion. The mind only knows one thing, ignorance of the present moment, things as they are, have no understanding. And so we have much compassion towards animals because the way they react is always under these two influences of craving and aversion. But of course there are house pets which, if we notice, they become tamed and almost human-like in the responses. It's because of the association with such upright people who are kind and considerate and compassionate. So too animals become another level. To the point is, if you take them back to the wild, which has been recorded, with millionaires owning baby tigers, and then the millionaire decides he doesn't want it anymore, and then they want to free it, and they put it in the jungle, it can't survive. It can't even kill. It doesn't know how to kill. And it just shows that the potential for an animal to develop to a certain extent, but not to the extent of a human being in all its facets and understanding the qualities of wholesome and the unwholesome. And thus, the seeds of a wholesome in our thinking and reacting are distorting our views of ourselves and the world. Thus we can even think there is no such thing as greed, hatred and delusion. And thus we can rightly say that I have a right to be greedy. Thus, if there is something that's being shared, I can say I will take an extra share because maybe next time there won't be any. So then we justify greed like that. Or anger, someone was angry to me, so I'll be angry back. Someone hit me, so I'll hit them back. And this is a person who has no understanding of wholesome and unwholesome and the repercussions of fruit from such thoughts leading to actions and speech. And so we engage, they are ignorant, and we engage with an ignorant fool in the same manner, and we are no better. Thus all kilesas are derived from these akusala mulas, these three unwholesome roots. They are impacting on our body, speech and mind. And how in a sense on the mind? Well, the Lord Buddha said we have these five khandhas, and this is the totality of our being. In a sense, this is how we experience the world, and this is very excellent because it makes us easily to understand this body and mind. Not even science or psychology or the greatest knowledges of the world can match the Lord Buddha's depth and understanding it. And so it's breaking down into five parts. The first part being the body, which is rupang, gaya, the body with itself. And the body, as I said before, is just a body. It grows old, it gets sick, it needs water, it needs to breathe. If we stop breathing, it will die. It constantly needs to breathe. So we're just aware that this body is extremely vulnerable to heat, to cold, to lack of food, lack of water. So we understand the body in itself. We don't harm it, we look after it, because it's our only vehicle we have to live in this life in the present moment. And the other ones are the 4 Nama Dhammas, and they are the qualities of the mind. And out of all the 3 areas, body, speech and mind, the Lord Buddha said the mind is the most dangerous, because it is the mind that is the forerunner of speech and action. And so too, like the hoof of an ox-drawn cart, the wheel of the ox-drawn cart will follow the hoof. And so too, mind then precedes speech and actions of body. So before we can speak, we need to think. And this is proven by the Lord Buddha in the second absorption of deep meditation. It's called the Noble Silence. And why is it called the Noble Silence? It's the Vitarka Vichara, which is the application of thought and sustained thought, have shut down. They are no longer needed. It's in a deep level of deep serenity and peace. There is no verbalization at all. One cannot even speak. One cannot even think an idea. And so if we come out of this absorption back to more mundane existence, then we have mental proliferation. And if we're not careful how we think, then our speech may be unskillful. So we always have to consider what we say, because like the hoof, the wheel will follow. So what we think, and without being mindful of what we say, we might hurt others or say offensive things. So these 4 Nama Dhammas, the Lord Buddha said we must understand them. They are utterly important, because the unwholesome roots are impacting on them and causing us to make them stronger and stronger. If we understand these 4 Nama Dhammas, then we have an opportunity to defend ourselves from unwholesome qualities of mind and understand how they work without us knowing. So the Lord Buddha wanted us to have knowing. Buddho, Puru, the one who knows. He wanted us to be the one who knows. Awaken in the here and now present moment. What are we doing here and now? So the first one is Vedana. And thus our experience of Vedana is the feeling that gives rise to craving and aversion. So with the experience of feeling, we'll have the experiencing of like and dislike. And so too, the child being born in the world, it has experience of dislike. It can't say, "Mummy," or to the surgeon, "Excuse me, surgeon, I'm having experience of dislike," because it has no language yet. It is just being born into the world, and it only can express itself with its crying. And we can see this with children who are learning to speak. Slowly they get more skill and able to express themselves. And so as we learn skill in speech, we no longer cry and shout. And if we do, it's considered very childlike. So as we develop, we can quite clearly see, yes, I have feelings of like and dislike. And it's all because of vicca, and it's all because of the pool of craving and aversion. And our experience of sanya, perceptions and memories. This is another area, the second area of the 4 Nama Dhammas. And sanya is sa, with knowledge. And this is very interesting, so remember that, with knowledge, because we'll be tested on that. Is the association of labeling. So that child who's screaming and feeling all terribly as it grows up, it starts to know what everything is. So if that child again at the age of 5 is put into a bathtub and the water is not warm enough, and it's too cold because the parent forgot to warm up the water or got distracted, or the water was too hot, only boiling water, which happens. There's been recorded incidents of accidents like this, and the child goes into that water, it'll scream, "Mummy, mummy, the water's too hot." It won't just scream. It won't just scream pains. It will able to labelise, this is water, this is hot, this is cold, because they're learning basic language. So we can see the evolution of that child using the power of sanya. It's growing in its strength in labelling. And as it grows older, the sophistication of labelling gets more sophisticated. So everything we look in this world, you can test yourself when you walk around this world, everything you see in this world, there's a label. Isn't that amazing? There's nothing that we can't label. And when we see something that we don't understand, how shocking it is for us, we quickly have to find a label for it. So we should be aware of that. So usually with labelling, there's strong examples of things that arise in the mind. That is the object of love and the object of hate. So this object being lay people have boyfriend, girlfriend, husbands, wives, and it's the object of love. So it's a new couple and they have great love for each other on a level of sensuality. But after being married for 30 years, some of them go astray and no longer, and they have bitterness towards each other and have hate. So we can see the nature of craving aversion when we don't really know ourselves. Where for other couples been married for 50 years, who are very Dharma practitioners, are careful with their minds and respectful, they will never express feelings like that because they'll understand that's the nature of the untrained mind. And they'll only have compassion towards each other and endure each other beautifully. And so will grow both very spiritually awakened. Because they are united is because of karma. So they should respect that uniting of that mutual affiliation to each other. They have some debt of karma that they have to acknowledge between both of them. So the other level is our experience of Sankara, which is our thoughts, ideas, impressions, opinions. And with this, we judge ourselves and others. So, for example, that newborn child screaming, it's judging itself and saying, I don't want this, and judging others, they are all bad. It can't say that. But that's probably what, as it later grows up and goes into a hot bath, and then it's afraid of its mother because its mother's putting in the bath, and the mother didn't know it's too hot, the water, and it runs away. No. It was scared of its own parents. It's not because, it's because of they're afraid of harm, and it's take a while for the parents to gain the child's trust again and apologize and so forth. And this is how it is when we grow up. We develop ideas and opinions. And even that parent meant no harm at all. There is a total misunderstanding. And we can see that in life. For example, recently I went for a walk and someone thought I was going to threaten them. And then as I was coming out of the street, someone came up wanting to jump me and accuse me of things. And I did nothing of the such. I just went for a peaceful walk. But because I wore these robes, they identified me as some weirdo and some creep because they'd never seen anything like that. And that's how it is. This world is like that when we don't know, don't understand our mind. So our last one, the fourth area, is Vinjana. And Vinjana is without knowledge, where Sanya is with knowledge. So Sanya is perception, the process of labeling, identifying things. And Vinjana is mere pure consciousness. And what is pure consciousness? And how do we understand consciousness? And we think consciousness is continuous, but that's an actual lie. So now we are looking at me or looking at each other in the room, and we're thinking my consciousness is constant. But that is actually one big lie. On the ultimate level, the Lord Buddha said consciousness arises and passes every moment. So then if we take a strobe light and we set it in this room, which unfortunately I don't have, I'd love to have, and make this room dark, and I switch on that strobe light, and control the speed of it from very fast to very slow. And then I ask a demonstrating person to walk in front of the audience quickly. You will not see them walk quickly. It'll look like they're running slowly because the strobe will only see certain movements. So it'll seem like they're freeze frame. And actually they're at the wall, but it looks like they're halfway across the room. And it's the delusion of the arising and passing of what we can be aware of. And so too the mind, it's moving so quickly, so rapidly, it cannot be measured. It is so fast, the Lord Buddha said, it's not measurable. How fast the mind is, the consciousness, how it rises and passes, is incredibly quick. So unfortunately we cannot see that, and that's why there is a thing such as delusion, because of our nama dharmas are not that developed in that way, or faculty of that, let's say, of beings born in high heaven realms, whose faculties are much more refined and sharp. So understanding that with Vinjana is just the bare recognizing awareness something has happened, and that's all. And with that bare recognizing of awareness, there is a reaction based on instinctual impulses. So I'll go back one step and we will understand these consciousnesses. So now I'll say it, recite it, how it was recited at the time of the Buddha. And they are called the 18 elements: Chaku Dhatu, Rupa Dhatu, Chaku Vinjana Dhatu, Sota Dhatu, Sada Dhatu, Sota Vinjana Dhatu, Gana Dhatu, Gana Dhatu, Gana Vinjana Dhatu, Jiva Dhatu, Rasa Dhatu, Jiva Vinjana Dhatu, Kaya Dhatu, Potaba Dhatu, Kaya Vinjana Dhatu, Mano Dhatu, Dhamma Dhatu, Mano Vinjana Dhatu. And they divide it into, each 6 are divided into 3 groups. And I'll only use the first one as an example because our time is limited. But they are all of the same nature. And so we have the 6 divisions, the first being the eye, the second being the ear, the third being our nose, our tongue, and our body, and the 5th being the mind. And each experience external objects. The eye experiences a form, the ear experiences sound, the nose experiences odours, the tongue experiences flavours and tastes, and the body experiences tactile sensations of cold, heat, so forth. And the mind experiences mental objects such as our volitional thought and our activities of our mind, and how we use our thoughts and what we think about and what are our obsessions. And so with the first one, they are broken in 3. So we have an eye and eye consciousness and a form. Now if one of them is impaired or not healthy or not able to function, then we won't have a rising of vision. So these 3 we need to be able to function and unite, and once they converge, then there is form. For example, if I close my eyes, no matter how hard I try to see, I won't see the camera in front of me. And the other one, if I open my eyes and we switch off all the lights and there's no light outside, no light whatsoever, completely black, no matter how much I open my eyes to look at the camera, I won't see the camera. And if the IT is distracting me and talking to me about important technical details, which we did the other night when we were doing setup and I was sitting in front of the camera, I won't be aware of looking at the camera because my consciousness will be engaged in listening and assessing that and thinking, and therefore I won't exactly know in that moment what I'm seeing. Of course, it looked like I can hear and see at the same time, but that's not true. So we can see that sometimes we are asked to give evidence of something that maybe happened, but because we were busy talking, even though we saw the scene, we're not too sure what we saw because our mind was distracted. We weren't paying attention to it like we were watching a film. So was it a red? Was it a blue car? Was it a woman? Was it a young child? I can't remember. So this shows that the mind is oscillating between different consciousnesses and is not paying attention. Wherefore now in this day and age, we pay so much attention to the eye base and the ear base when we're looking at the internet for many hours, at visual things and so forth. And they, in a way, hypnotize us and stimulate our mental process to think in a certain way, or to have reaction and feelings in a certain way because of our addiction to what we are observing. So another aspect of it, so I've gone on a very basic level because we don't have to go into details, but our reactionary base is an instinctual one. And for example, we can see if suddenly I was, again to set up another example, is this would be night time and suddenly the lights went off, we would have a response, automatic response of adrenaline, where we'd be ready to prepare for emergencies, because what else is going to happen? The light's gone off. Is there any dangerous people about? I can't see where I am. We would have fear arise. And even animals have this instinctual response. If suddenly there's a large thunderclap, I've seen little dogs run underneath the ding where I'm sitting on in a monastery, where in a remote place, and there's big thunder and rain, and all the birds run away or fly away, and the dog runs underneath the ding and snivering and cowering, looking for companionship because it's afraid. And I'm not afraid. I just think, oh, it's just nature. It's beautiful. It's just nature expressing itself. So we can see when we have knowledge and understanding, then we have a different response. So Vinjana is something, it's out of our control. So the automatic response is so instinctual, and only, let's say, enlightened being would not have that response because their mind is purely pure. So anyone else would have the response of fear or joy from that. And that mind is based in avijja. It's still not free. That's how refined the mind is and the potential of the human mind that the Lord Buddha showed to us and educated us and motivated us in such a powerful, beautiful way. So with the manifestation of these Nama Dhammas increasing, and how do they increase? They increase and impact on our lives through our three doors. Mano Dwara, Vaji Dwara and Gaya Dwara. These are the three doors where we express unwholesome action or unwholesome actions. And of course, as I said before, it is the mind that is a leader. So what we think is what we will be. So if we're thinking a lot of negative thoughts, then our physical appearance and our attitudes and our physical way we present ourselves, really negative. But if we're very confident and very happy and very at ease, the body will display a different kind of form, because the nature of that pure goodness and that wholesome state of mind will have a powerful effect on the body and express it through the body, and also express it through the speech. The speech will be polite and well-mannered, and will be well considered. Thus, exercising such karma results in strengthening these three unwholesome roots. Such is a seed, such will be the plant of the fruit. And the Lord Buddha gave this lovely simile for us of the bitter seed. And this bitter seed, for example, the Lord Buddha said, let's say, which does exist, and that is a bitter gourd, which is a vegetable in Asia, extremely bitter, and used as most likely as a medicinal or mixed with other dishes, but not as by itself to be enjoyed. So he used this one specifically because everyone thinks, oh no, bitter gourd, it's so disgusting, its taste. But of course it does have some medicinal properties. But nevertheless, when we take bitter medicine, we always take a little bit of sweet honey, because that's the only way we can get the child to swallow the bitter medicine. And then we feel at ease and happy to do so. But unfortunately, with unwholesome qualities that are bitter, and we can think that this bitter seed that we plant, that it will bear a fruit of sweet, delectable, delicious taste. And this is total delusion, the Lord Buddha says. But when that unwholesome action of body, speech and mind is done, and then the fruit we reap is not sweet or results in happiness, instead it leads us to much bitterness, remorse due to this bitter seed, we can see the beautiful parallel to this simile, with our unwholesome actions being that of a bitter seed. and sow the seed, sow the fruit. And because we have the opportunity to decide to think that way, or to speak that way, or to act that way, this gives us great empowerment in controlling our lives and leading in line with this eternal law of Dharma that the Lord Buddha awakened to. Thus, our ideas, thoughts and intentions is like the seed taking root. If our intentions are good and noble, then the fruit results will bring happiness and peace of mind. And why is it? It's because we went to the trouble to plant a seed that bears sweet and pleasant fruit. So we went to the initial cause, and that is the root cause of greed, hatred and delusion. We try to go to this foundation in our mind and assess, am I acting in a greedy way? Am I acting in a way that is greedy? Or am I acting in a way that is full of hatred? Or am I acting in a way where I actually not really wise, not considering things thoroughly, but acting very impulsively and based on strong motions of craving and aversion? Because what they gain power, this craving, aversion, it's easy to follow them because we don't have to think and we feel good about it. But later, we have great remorse. A monk friend of mine presented a film showing a documentary of a young man who in a street gang killed another fellow young man and then later went to jail, and the mother, that was her only child, went to the prison to see this man who was the killer of her son, and both being of the same race, being of origin of African, from the country of Africa, they developed a relationship, and she even, to the extent, would go and see him because she had no one left in her world except this man who killed her son. And then he later disclosed his great regret and remorse of being a young man, foolish, in gangs and fighting and so forth, and that actually he regretted it much later. And so they now are very deep, close friends. And this shows the power of the mind to show that we are caught up in craving aversion later. We feel much remorse and regret, and we wish it to be otherwise. And what seed is that? And that is the seed of right view, the view that all our actions, body and speech bear fruit, and that is wholesome fruit. And that is right view, which when we start to understand the nature of Dharma, such as I'm trying to explain for you, to able to have some skills in assessing what is going on in the present moment and why are we reacting as we are. Knowing that this is an internal law of ordination, the fixed law of Dharma, Dhamma niyama, the Lord Buddha called it, and this is broken into various, I think, 5 divisions, but I won't go into detail on 5 of them. But the main one is the law of karma. If we understand the law of karma, then this is the access into right view. So if we have right view, then we can follow the Dharma, the Majjhima Patipada, the middle way, and be balanced, neither craving nor aversion, and be able to be the one who knows and be in the present moment and decide and even change our own ways of thinking by developing thoughts and ideas that are opposing such negativity. And doing meritorious deeds brings happiness and peace of mind. Doing demerit, bad deeds, brings bitterness and remorse and regret. Even though maybe when people do bad deeds, which there are a lot, and do not feel remorse and regret, it's because it hasn't ripened yet. And the law of karma is something we cannot foresee but when it does ripen, its results is great. And we can use the example of someone who's involved in criminal activity. Their behaviour, they have to support that behaviour with a lot of fear and a lot of agitation, and the fact that they always have to carry a gun. Could you imagine that, being a person, you're afraid to open your door because you might think somebody's coming to kill you because you've killed other people? What kind of mind state would that be? And this is what the small footage I'll be showing you of this mass murderer at the time of the Lord Buddha. It just shows that every society has these extreme characters and behaviours, and Lord Buddha was at ease in it. He never tried to get involved in it, but he tried to teach to humankind the law of Dharma. And the law of Dharma is the one of the middle way. And being a peaceful samana, he was not a politician, but bound to his etiquette of being a samana, and composed and serene, and developing compassion, kindness for mankind. Not going there to change rules and regulations, just accepted that was just the conventions of the time. But what we can change is our attitudes to the law and structures we're in. Luckily enough, we're living in Australia where the laws are very good, but in some places they still have executions and things like that, which is quite heavy punishment and quite sad. And but we just have to accept that's the society. This society did exist in the time of Buddha as well. So we are looking at developing ourselves, because Dharma is all about our inner world and developing. Dharma is the power of action of our minds, action of our body, and action of our speech, in truly good ways that are beneficial, bringing true happiness. And thus the Lord Buddha gave finally 3 similes on dangers, and that is revealed dangers. And these dangers are if we go on a long journey. And if we go on a long journey, we might be going through remote forests, jungles, mountains, and we'll come across wild beasts, bandits that may harm us, and even bodily afflictions such as thirst, hunger, and so forth, because we don't know if we'll be able to get supplies and things like that. Wherefore concealed dangers, this is the simile he gives, is that being the bitter fruit of doing demerit and body, speech and mind. Because these and other actions bring much danger to ourselves in many ways. And because through our mind door and body door and our speech door, we perform thoughts and ideas under their influence, and then they rob us of any goodness and any wholesomeness. And in the end, when we're so full of unwholesome qualities, we will be feeling very sad and upset and confused. Why has my life gone in such a wrong way? There are other similes such as due to domination. This is another excellent line of the power of unwholesome mind states. They impair, overwhelm, intimidate, tyrannize, oppress one. And we can see that when we are feeling incredibly centrally indulgent, that there's no way we can stop once we're in the grasp of desire, the fire of desire. We're just intoxicated. We want more and more. It's so difficult to stop. That's why it's better to learn to be careful around it and learn to develop a moderation attitude. And finally, we have the power of it being decline, the danger of declining. And what is declining? It is declining. If we are increasing in unwholesome states, then naturally it'll eat away, erode any wholesome states at all. All the unwholesome states of demerit will just take over and spread all aspects of our life. And how do they spread? The seed spreads through the 3 main roots of greed, hatred, and delusion. And they spread through our mental activity, our speech, and our bodily activity, our body actions, and so forth. And finally, such dangers have a dwelling. And like all beings, they have a dwelling. And this is another beautiful simile the Lord Buddha gave. For animals, some animals live in a burrow under the ground. Some, such as birds, live in a nest in a tree. And watery fishes live on the murky depths of the ocean, and so forth. And even too, the bitter seed of unwholesomeness has a home, and that is unwholesome, rooted in the unwholesome greed, hatred, and delusion. And so if we make a new home, and that's what the Lord Buddha is saying, we make a new home, we decide to promote the wholesome qualities, because if we have no education, it's very difficult to develop and establish wholesome qualities. Even though society has done very well with other sects and traditions have promoted very good qualities of wholesome activity and moral society, but still there's much more work to be done. It's still on a level of superficiality. It needs to go much deeper level on the level of the mind, our attitude of our mind. And so we too, having wholesome states of mind, depend on our mind dwelling, and that is lost in wrong view. So if we awaken to understanding right view, like in the Dhamma pada saying of yasa papa kang kapang kusalena pitiyati so iman lokam papasati abamuta abachandima, we too will become illuminous like the full moon breaking free of the clouds. And how is that? Because we've learned to abandon unwholesome qualities and develop wholesome qualities of mind. Now we're short on time, so we will go now to the footage which I've selected just to give an understanding how dangerous unwholesome mind states are. And this is an excellent footage of the Angulimala with the Buddha. So we will go in and have a look at that now.
In a short time, Angulimala will commit matricide. He will kill his own mother. This is a very heavy karma, which prevents one from attaining to the path, fruit, and nibbana. But this outlaw does not kill with malicious intent. He does so out of ignorance. This being the case, he should still be able to attain to the Dharma. I'll help him to escape from the deadly snare of his own foolish mistake.
I've already collected 999 human fingers. If I kill just one more person, I'll have the full 1,000 fingers, as instructed by my master. There is a recluse walking alone. He's about to meet his doom. That's strange. The summoner ahead just keeps on walking. But I'm running to exhaustion and still can't catch him. Oh! Stop there, summoner! Summoner, stop there!
I have stopped already. It is you who have not yet stopped.
A holy man should speak only the truth. But there you are, striding onwards, telling me you've stopped. Here I am standing still, and you tell me I haven't stopped?
Ahimsaka, I have stopped. Stopped killing, stopped harming, stopped pursuing wrong livelihood, stopped all kinds of misconduct. It is you who have not yet stopped. Not stopped killing, not stopped harming, not stopped pursuing wrong livelihood, not given up misconduct. You're still grasping your sword. How can you say you've already stopped?
The words you have spoken are immortal and true, but never before heard, even in my master's hermitage.
Ahimsaka, all things which arise are of the nature to eventually cease. The sword which you were carrying has now been laid down. So let go of the mental defilement associated with your wrong actions. Should your heart dwell on those actions, it will soon become spoiled. Focus on recollecting your good actions. Your heart will become increasingly cheerful and radiant. Be industrious in making merit, maintaining morality, and brightening your mind in every single moment.
From now on, I devote myself wholly to Buddhism. Please give me ordination in your excellent dispensation.
I agree to give you ordination. Follow me back to Jetavana Monastery.
So there was a beautifully composed scene showing the power of realization, and when we come to realize the grips of our actions by meeting someone very pure and virtuous and giving us a good example of happiness that we can too follow. And so the flower, or the lotus flower, if you saw opening near the end, in the end scene, it is recorded that after such conversation, his first initial conversation with Lord Buddha, he attained the first stage of enlightenment, stream entry, which means he has unshakable faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. And this is a powerful cause, and one who has attained that level, it's incredibly hard to do evil, even though maybe sometimes one will maybe a little bit excited and playful, but one will have a quite sense of well-mannered restraint and composure. So it's still a very mature level of development, but it's one of utmost importance because it shows the mind has completely altered. And so whatever difficulties that we experience, we don't give in. We don't feel that we can't do it. So all of us, even though we haven't attained this level, we should behave as if we are at that level, if we really want to get results. So we have to be very committed in our Dharma practice, so then we can really mature and understand and continually get involved in doing meditation retreats, meeting with other fellow practitioners, reading Dharma books, listening to talks, and so on. This will increase our understanding and mature the mind. So then that way we'll have a wealth we can draw upon and reflect about our life. So that's the beauty of the Dharma, because the Dharma, giving the Dharma, nothing exceeds the gift of the Dharma. So, the Lord Buddha honoured it, revered it, even higher than himself when he attained Bodhinyana enlightenment. He thought, there's no one who has achieved enlightenment in this world. I have awakened to it. I have awakened. I have set forth the wheel of Dharma, the Dhamma Chakabhawana. Dhamma Chakra means the wheel of the Dharma, and no person or any being can stop that wheel. And it's recorded that this wheel will keep turning for 5,000 years. So we're halfway in our dispensation of the Lord Buddha Gautama. So it's not that far away, 5,000 years, if you think about it, if we're already over 2,500 years. So that's only quite a number of more generations. So if more we can do now, we can get progress in our life, and this will be a great. So thank you. It looks very well attended, the Sunday talk. So it shows there is a deep interest for live Dhamma teachings, and it's a beautiful energy, the live Dhamma teachings, that you can't get when you listen to recorded talks. Just being there in the present moment, witnessing it as it is. It has, even myself, I cannot say it comes near to things that have already been recorded. Just the energy is wonderful. So and I'm honored for coming and supporting monks in their endeavour to teach Dharma and to understand Dhamma and to reach the goal of Nibbana, either in this life or in future lives, because that is our vows of monks and that is our wholehearted aspiration. So I'm honored for you all for supporting Sangha in this day and age. And may the Buddhist teachings flourish for your happiness and welfare for many.